Born in 1813, James Marion Sims adopted surgery as his profession when medical science was not that developed. Later, he was given the title of father of modern gynecology, yet he had to perfect his surgical operations, especially those related to gynecology. For that, he would need women he could perform surgery on. That was impossible to find, but he knew slavery was the norm and he could buy black women. He would buy them and take them to his surgery rooms where those black women did not know what would be done to them. They did not have a fraction of the idea of the pain they would face during the surgery. Yet he was not alone. Another doctor, a French surgeon named François-Marie Prévost, also had the same plans. He was the one who invented the Cesarean Section operations, but for the first one, he needed a living woman he could test his skills on. What both of them and many doctors like them did to the black women is the worst crime against humanity. Welcome to the Black History Archives, a channel where we present the forgotten black history and events that every black or white should know. We feel black people are often misguided by being bombarded with propaganda that forces them to forget their glory. Our goal is to educate you about the factual events that shape everything. Let's build a black community that grows together. In this video, we will tell you about the evil experiments and inhumane surgical operations done on black women by racist doctors. Let's get started.
The Black History Archives.
Once upon a time in the early 1800s, there was a man named James Marion Sims, who lived in Lancaster County, South Carolina. He became a doctor during a time when medical training wasn't as advanced as it is now. After some basic training, he started his medical practice in Lancaster, but later moved to Montgomery, Alabama, hoping for a fresh start after the unfortunate deaths of his first two patients. In Montgomery, Sims gained a reputation for treating enslaved workers owned by wealthy plantation owners. He built a hospital right in the heart of the trading district, where stubborn cases were brought to him. You see, these enslaved workers had to be in good health so they could produce and reproduce, which was important to their owners. Sims worked on these women, fixing a medical condition called a vesicovaginal fistula, which caused them great discomfort. At first, Sims wasn't interested in treating female patients, and examining their intimate organs was considered inappropriate. But when he had to help a woman who fell off a horse, he realized he needed to look inside her vagina to treat her properly. This led him to create a tool called a speculum, a bit like a bent handle of a pewter spoon. Sims experimented with surgical techniques to treat fistulas, and he performed the surgeries on enslaved women, like Lucy, Anarcha, and Betsy. Unfortunately, these surgeries were painful and often unsuccessful. Sims even thought that black people didn't feel pain like white people, a belief that the white supremacists and racists had at that time. After many attempts, Sims finally perfected his method and started using anesthesia but white women. For surgeries on black women, he did not use anesthesia as they were slaves. Yes, he believed black women were his bought commodities, so he should not bother caring about their pain. Yet white supremacists did not see how he had performed surgeries on black women. They could only see how he changed the medical field and worked as a trailblazer. Therefore, statues were built in his honor in different places, like New York City's Central Park, the South Carolina State House, and his old medical school in Philadelphia. But not everyone was happy about these statues. Some people started to speak out, saying that Sims wasn't as deserving of celebration as others believed. He had committed crimes against humanity, violating human rights, and his statues mocked the black communities, which could never be tolerated. As time went on, more and more people realized that these statues were not sending the right message. They were a reminder of the pain and suffering that women like Lucy, Anarcha, and Betsy endured at the hands of Sims. Activists worked hard to bring attention to this issue, and finally, their efforts paid off. The statue in Philadelphia was moved into storage after several years of activism, and on April 17, 2018, the one in Central Park was removed. Many people believe that this recognition is long overdue. Back in 1941, Dr. John A. Kinney, a respected figure in black dermatology, suggested that a monument should be dedicated to all the nameless black people who contributed to surgery by being treated like guinea pigs for medical experiments. But Sims was not alone. A French physician named François-Marie Prévost decided to start a new chapter in his life and moved to the United States. But little did anyone know that his actions would lead to a controversial and troubling tale. You see, Prevost had a fascination with a medical procedure called Cesarean Section, or C-section for short. This was a surgery to deliver babies through cuts in the mother's belly and womb. Back in those days, C-sections were quite risky, and they were only done as a last resort when natural childbirth wasn't possible. Before coming to the United States, Prevost had practiced performing C-sections on enslaved women in Haiti. And when he arrived in Louisiana, he continued his experimental work, but this time on enslaved women there. Now, let's pause for a moment and remember that these were dark times. Slavery was an awful institution where Black people were treated as property with no rights or say over their own bodies. Enslaved women, in particular, were horribly mistreated, and their well-being was often ignored by their owners and society. Prevost's access to the bodies of these enslaved women for his experiments was a result of this terrible reality. He had no regard for their pain or safety, and he subjected them to dangerous medical procedures without their consent. Despite the unethical nature of his actions, Prevost's work was praised in the medical community. They hailed him as the father of the C-section for his contributions to gynecology, but nobody is ready to accept how he exploited Black women for his surgical operations. Yet this was not it. Black women had to face structural medical exploitation. A long time ago, practices like the sterilization of Black women were born from a troubling idea called the eugenics movement, which believed in controlling who should and shouldn't become parents. Sadly, this led to unfair and hurtful situations, especially for Black women. In the 1920s to 1980s, a terrible thing called the Mississippi appendectomy happened in some parts of the southern United States. It was a horrifying practice where poor Black women were forcibly sterilized without their permission, so they couldn't have children. Some Black women who visited hospitals for minor surgery later found out that their uteruses had been removed. One brave civil rights activist, Fannie Lou Hamer, spoke out about this terrible issue when she discovered that she had been secretly sterilized during a hospital visit for tumor removal. In states like North Carolina and Mississippi, nearly 8,000 Black women were sterilized. This means that 8,000 uteruses were ripped off of them without their consent. Their right to make choices about their own bodies was taken away from them. Even in the 1970s, sterilization became a common form of birth control in the United States, with over 700,000 cases. However, many Black women had to endure this cruel practice without knowing or agreeing to it. It's heartbreaking to know that this was allowed under state law, pretending it was only for those with disabilities or considered too promiscuous or feeble-minded to have children. One really sad example is the case of Elaine Riddick, a 14-year-old Black girl who was sterilized after being assaulted, just because someone else thought it was best for her. This story is a strong reminder of how Black women's rights were ignored and their bodies were treated as if they belonged to the state. Did you know Black women had to face structural medical exploitation? Didn't they take inhumanity to another level by performing surgery without anesthesia, let alone the victim's consent? Let us know your thoughts on this. Would you like to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to the Black History Archives and click the bell icon. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.